we all will deal with greater traumas such as loss. And that's something you dealt with, afterwards. You had a sudden loss of your father as well. Can you talk about how that impacted you and what you had to do to deal with that and kind of make the best as you moved forward?
Yeah, this is a tough one right now because
Mm,
my best friend also just lost her father. So I'm flying up literally tomorrow to go to the funeral service for
yeah,
Saturday.
yeah.
And they were good friends. So, um, my father and I had an interesting relationship. I mean, I was an only child and I absolutely, I cherish a lot of our memories. And growing up, though, as humans do with our beautiful brains, we kind of, make up these stories. And one of the stories I made up about my father was that he doesn't love me.
Mm,
And he did, totally. And I knew that later on. It just at the time didn't feel like it because he was a former Marine. Definitely, a son, the oldest, that had to do all the chores on the farm. And like, right, you talk about generational cycles and trauma. And there was the World War II and his father. And then there was the Great Depression. And, his childhood and environment was interesting. And no one said, I love you or I'm proud of you. Or, his parents didn't teach him anything about unconditional love. It was, straps, get your boots on and get to the farm and take care of all your other siblings. And it was a lot. And so I think for a Marine then to grow, to raise me, I mean, I have so much respect and so much grit and resilience and, values. And I wouldn't trade it in for the world. Um, but there was something missing, Casper, when my father like went into rehab, right? Inpatient suicidal ideation for 30 days when I was 8. And so
mm,
that kind of like clearly left an imprint because I'm like, he's teaching me all these things, right? Like there's always this lecture, but what is it what is this? Because clearly it's not working for him.
yeah.
And so I just remember at a very young age saying to myself, he's teaching me all these things, he's lecturing me on all this stuff, right? But why isn't it working for him?
Mm,
And so years and years and years later, he got sober. Both him and my mom actually got sober at the same time at 8 years old when I was 8. And then, I mean, I feel like that's literally truly our saving grace for how our relationship has morphed into a beautiful, extraordinary, father daughter and mother daughter. So I think that when my father came down during COVID, he lived with us for some time, got him his own place, and then full circle, I saw exactly what he struggled with his whole life. And it was the fact that through the conversations of COVID, because clearly I had plenty of time to chat, we really dug deep and we tore some layers back. And he was also suicidal during that time, suicidal ideation, and went into the in and out of inpatient. So it has been throughout my life. First when I was 8, and then again when I was in my 40s. So just years ago during COVID. And I feel like at the end of the day, I realized that my father never loved himself.
mm,
And he had unconditional love for me because I was his child. Well, I can't say unconditional love. I have to say conditional love because that's all he knew.
mm,
Right. And so knowing that all the stories that he told me, he said, he didn't even teach me this directly. He taught me this indirectly, where I was like, Dad, all of these stories and the fact that you haven't forgiven yourself yet, this is unconditional love. You haven't learned it. Like you don't have it for yourself. You would never hurt a fly, right? He worked for Easter Seals, special needs, the most amazing individual. Went and worked at like an adult daycare, drove his father to and from, when he was very, very, I don't know, 90s. And he just had a beautiful soul and just I think was conditioned into a different environment, right? From again, that kind of generational cyclical effect of trauma. And so when I told him this and we we talked about it, he found it within. Like he actually, I could see him from his head logically just like drop and like shift into his heart and
Mm,
just bawl his eyes out. And it was the day after Christmas, and he said, he goes, and he always said Courtney Cote. He says, Courtney Cote, I have a dream. And he says, I want to live 19 more years. And he was 71 at the time, so that would have put him at 90.
mm,
And he's like, I've never had a dream in my life. He goes, but I want to live 19 more years. And it was crazy because I feel truly, Casper, that I freed his soul. Like together, our
mm,
beautiful conversations and our connection, it freed his soul prior to him going into the hospital that next day with massive symptoms. He had had symptoms that year before, misdiagnosed from the VA, but ended up going in and getting diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passing 12 days later.
mm.
So it was really fast. So, I mean, I think that that kind of was a long-winded answer, but I feel like there's some just crazy, you know, full circles and learnings and lessons and things that maybe he didn't even truly mean to teach me, but it's like, holy crap, now I know what my life mission is and my purpose, because
Yeah.
it's like he gave that to me. We both gave each other a gift before he passed,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
children choose their parents for the lessons they will
Yeah,
get and the
that's
lessons they will
exactly
give,
correct.
right?
Mhm.
It's not the other way around that many people
That's
think that way.
correct.
And it's interesting. I mean, I can absolutely see that as well.